The amount of data and applications that move to cloud speaks volumes about the popularity of cloud and different cloud service providers. I am Vishal from Edureka, and I'm going to give you an overview of Microsoft Azure, which is a popular cloud service provider. But before we do get into the nitty-gritties of Microsoft Azure, let's quickly take a look at today's agenda. I would start by talking about what cloud is. Then I would discuss its different cloud computing patterns and cloud service models. I would also discuss what Microsoft Azure is and what is its platform. Finally, I would talk about Microsoft Azure Services and finish things off with the demo part. I hope this agenda is clear to all of you. So let's not waste any time and quickly get started then. Now, when you talk about cloud, people normally think that it is a huge space online and a collection of servers. Now, that is absolutely correct. But that is not the only definition of cloud. A cloud is a lot more than that. To give you a correct answer or a proper scenario, let me give you a use case or a situation that existed before cloud came into existence. Well, back then, in order to host a website, you had to buy a stack of servers. You had to pay a lot of money to buy these or this stack of server. Apart from that, you had to go ahead and maintain and monitor these servers. Now, that was another pain. Why? Because maintaining these servers wasn't easy. Plus, you could not focus on your business goals. Why? Because you were busy maintaining your servers. Now, all these issues created a mess. So came in cloud for the rescue. What happened was people and organizations, they went ahead and they bought a huge space online. They provided services like compute, databases, storage, and a number of other services. Now, all these features and this huge space was orchestrated together, and this amalgamation, it led to formation of cloud or a network where people could actually go ahead and rent huge space or servers basically, and also rent compute services or other services that were required for processing or building applications. So this orchestration was known as cloud, and this name continued. So what is cloud computing? Well, it is the process of storing, processing, and accessing data via internet. Now imagine this situation. You have certain resources, you need to place it somewhere. What cloud does is it gives you freedom to place it in any part of the world where they have their data center. And you can actually go ahead and access this data by sitting at your home using a laptop and an internet connection. So accessing data and placing it anywhere across the globe becomes easier. Plus, the service providers maintain and monitor your servers and various other issues that are there with your data and applications. All you have to do is you have to focus on computing or adding value to your applications. This process is known as cloud computing. When you talk about cloud computing, these are some of the terminologies which you should focus on. That is on-demand self-service, broad network access, resource pooling, rapid elasticity, and measured services. I would be discussing most of these terms as we move further. Before that, let's try to understand this topic, cloud computing patterns. These are nothing but an approach towards usage or allocation of cloud services. That means we are focusing on the provisioning part here. Let us try to understand these patterns one by one. The first pattern is on and off. Now this is specific to services that can be switched off and on when needed. That means certain services might not be required throughout the process or running of your applications. They might be required only in certain periods. Now what you can do is you can actually switch off and switch on these resources with the help of different cloud service providers that are there in the market. And with the help of Microsoft Azure, you can do it at a single click. That means you do not have to pay for the resources or you do not have to keep them on and get billed for it. Growing fast. Now there are certain resources that grow rapidly. Instead of saying resources, I would say the applications. They grow rapidly, and what happens is as the user base increases, the load on these resources or applications increases. Now you should have a service provider that lets you scale up to these needs or even scale down in case when the resources are not required. So these growing fast resources would normally double or triple in a small unit or a period of time. And your cloud provider should be ready to handle this amount of traffic. When you talk about Microsoft Azure, it ensures that this is possible again by just a click. Unpredictable bursting. What happens here is we are talking about abnormal abruptions. That means all of a sudden something happens and you experience huge amount of traffic at your channel, and which is difficult to handle. Again, you would need proper provisioning here because you're not certain how long you would be needing this provisioning. So for this kind of unpredictable bursting, you have one more approach towards provisioning cloud computing, and this is yet another pattern. Now, predictable bursting. Now, think of it as your seasonal sales. Say, for example, people normally shop more on weekends. So the trend for shopping would generally be high on Saturdays and Sundays, which is a standard holiday when you talk about India. So, yes, these kind of seasonal peaks or drops are something known as predictable bursting. So, these were some of the cloud computing patterns, and based on these patterns, the allocations or provisioning as far as the cloud is concerned are done differently. Service models. Now, when you talk about service models, there are three, that is IaaS, PaaS, and SaaS. Let's try to understand these one by one. Now, when you talk about SaaS, it is software as a service. That means you actually go ahead and just consume the software that is made available to you by the vendor. Vendor takes care of everything, your networking, storage, middleware, runtime, applications, everything. All you do is you just consume the data or the application. To give you an example, we have Gmail. Now in Gmail, what you do is you just send mails to people. You're not concerned about other factors like whether you need to go ahead and maintain its servers, worry about security issues and all those things. Now Gmail takes care of everything. All you do is you just send mails, and that is what your only concern is. This kind of an approach is called as SaaS or software as a service. Then you have PaaS, that is platform as a service. Here you maintain your data and applications. That means you have the freedom to go ahead and create your own applications, but everything else is provided by the vendor, like your runtime, your middleware, OS, virtualization, servers, storage, networking, etc. All you do is you just go ahead, create your applications and deploy those. To give you an example, we have Google Play Store. Here you have the freedom to use the applications that are there and also create the ones which you want to post or deploy. IaaS. Well, think of it as an infrastructure as a service, and here you do most of the managing. That means you manage your data, applications, runtime, middleware, and operating systems. The vendor takes care of only the basic level of infrastructure it provides to you, like the virtualization, servers, storage, and networking. To give you a generalized idea about what all these three things are, let me give you an analogy. Now, think that you want to have a pizza. What you would do is you have three options. One, you would make it by yourself. Two, you would order it online and sit at home and eat. Three, you would go to a hotel, order it, and eat it there and there. First approach, where you actually go ahead and cook your own pizza or bake your own pizza. Here, what happens is this approach is similar to IaaS. Why? Because you are using your ingredients, making the pizza, consuming it, you're using your own utensils, and yep, you're serving it to yourself. Means everything that was meant to happen in a hotel, you have to take care of everything, right from cooking to consuming and cleaning up as well. PaaS, on the other hand, is like ordering a pizza online. That means you order a pizza for home delivery, it comes to your place, you just open it and consume it. The cooking part and delivering part is taken care by the hotel or the vendor. Same is with platform as a service. Then you have SaaS. It is similar to going out and eating the pizza. That means you just go to a restaurant, order a pizza, it gets cooked there, it gets delivered to you, you consume it, and you just leave. You do not do anything else. Everything else is taken care by the vendor. So I hope this analogy gives you a little bit of more idea as to what these three platforms are. To give you a little more light, I would say take a look at this diagram. Now, software as a service basically is nothing but your applications which you use, the software, that is Yahoo, Gmail, etc. Platform as a service is nothing but your platform where you have your web servers, databases, and all those things. And then you have your infrastructure where you have the low level architecture, that is your hard disk, firewall, RAM, CPU, and all those things. I hope these service models are clear to all of you. Let us try to understand what is Microsoft Azure. Think of it as a set of cloud services that help you organize and manage a business better. That means you have the freedom to go ahead and build, manage, and deploy your applications on a massive or on a global scale. Plus, it gives you the freedom to go ahead and use your favorite tools as well. In simple words, it is nothing but a hybrid cloud that provides you all the facilities or orchestration that we discussed in the past. Let us try to understand some of the features of Microsoft Azure. Now, when you talk about Microsoft Azure features, the first thing that should come to your mind is on-demand provisioning. Now, what do I mean by this? That means all your scaling up and scaling down needs can be met. You can use only the services that you need. That means if you need a particular amount of services and a particular amount of space, you order that and that gets delivered to you in a box. And you are concerned or made to use that part only. You do not have to worry about anything else. Next is scalability in minutes. Now, yes, I just mentioned that you can scale up or down based on the demand. But again, can you do it at a faster rate? Yes. With Microsoft Azure, you can scale up and down at just a mere click. Pay as you consume. Now, Microsoft Azure supports a model called as pay as you go. That means you pay only for the services that you use. Plus, you have something called as a pricing calculator that lets you keep track of all the services that you're using and also keeps you or lets you keep track of all the resources and the payment that you're supposed to do while you use these resources. Abstract resources. You can focus only on your needs, that is your business goals, and you have to stop worrying about everything else because Microsoft Azure will take care of everything: your security, your storage, your databases, your management, your messaging, networking, everything. Efficiency of experts. Now, these applications, they are built by experts and they're maintained by experts as well. So you have valid inputs when you do go ahead and put your business up on these cloud platforms. Measurable. You have various features like Insight Manager and all those things which give you insights into what is happening. And these insights are throughout your applications or throughout the processes of your applications. So you do not have to worry about anything at all. So let us move further and try to understand the platform of Microsoft Azure. As I've already mentioned, back then you had to go ahead and buy a stack of servers, maintain it yourself, and take care of everything. That means you had to set in people for maintaining your servers, maintaining your databases, maintaining your applications, and a number of other things. Now, what happens here is when you talk about a platform like Microsoft Azure, they have their data centers, their databases, and they have their services that let you compute, question, manage, and process all these resources. Same is with its platform basically. Say, for example, you have a data center where your data gets stored. You have your databases that are nothing but again places which hold your data. You have your SQL servers which let you query your data or question your data and retrieve data as per your needs. As a user, you have your application which goes online or on the cloud. All you do is you keep or invest your time in maintaining your application. That means on focusing on your business goals. You enhance your applications. That is what you do. Everything else is taken care by your Azure platform. You have something called as an access control service, which lets others go ahead and access your applications when it's needed. Plus you have a service bus which lets an intercommunication to take place smoothly. So this was about the Azure platform. Let us move further and try to understand the next point of discussion, that is Microsoft Azure Services. Now there are 8 domains which hold n number of different services. Let me just try and throw some light on these domains one by one. Firstly, we have the compute domain where all the computation is taken care of. That means this is where you have the roadmap as to what application is to be built and what is its life cycle. To take care of this, we have various services like your virtual machines basically, which lets you have your scale sets, container services, container registry, etc. Then you have something called as migration. That means you have services that actually let you go ahead and move your data physically from one place to the other. Now, why do you need physical movement of data? It is not always convenient to move your data online. I will give you a general example. Do not relate it to this topic completely, but it is similar to that. Say, for example, you need to send an email. What do? You just type your email, maybe in your Gmail, and forward it to the respective person you want to send it to. But what if you had to send maybe say 20 movies? Sending that through Gmail would be a little inconvenient. Easier way would have been you putting in your pen drive, copying those movies and giving the pen drive to the person in particular. That is what migration services let you do. When you have huge amount of data, it can be moved from data center to data center and migration services let you do that. Security and compliance. When you talk about Microsoft Azure, you have more than 50 compliances. Now, these compliances are nothing but laws which let you govern your security much better. Now, when you talk about Microsoft Azure, you have a security development lifecycle which governs the security of your applications and the complete know-how of your Microsoft Azure. So you do not have to worry about security at any part or at any instance where your application is running or when you're using Microsoft Azure. Storage. Now again, what happens here is we are talking about different types of storages. Microsoft Azure provides you with storages like your blob storage, your queue storage, table storage, and file storage. Your blob storage is basically for your raw data storage. Your queue storage, as we know, is basically your messages. Then you have your table storage where you can store your data, that is relational data, and your file storage, which holds files as the name suggests. The next domain is database. Now, when you talk about databases, your Microsoft Azure provides you with different kinds of databases like your SQL databases, Redis cache, you have your document DB. Your SQL database is something that deals with relational data. Redis cache, on the other hand, is more of a key value store where you have a key which corresponds to a particular value. And then you have your document DB, which is nothing but a NoSQL database. Now, NoSQL database is used in a very less amount, I would say, but yeah, it is still used and it deals with unstructured data as well. Messaging. Yes, you have various networks that let you have networking and interconnectivity, and plus you have various APIs that help you in communication in a much better way. Plus there are quite a few applications that let you do messaging and inter-messaging and intra-messaging as well. Next domain is networking. Now, when you talk about networking, you need to consider these points. That is your domain name servers, you have your Azure Content Delivery Networks, that is CDNs, and you have your VPN gateways. Now, all these are nothing but different communication channels and they form the core when you talk about networking services. And finally, you have your management tools. Now, when you talk about management tools, we are talking about these tools which let you manage your applications in a number of ways. That means it also involves various monitoring tools like your Insight Manager, which lets you have metrical insights at different levels and various other services as well. So these were some of the service domains as far as your Microsoft Azure is concerned. Let us now move further and go ahead and take a look at the demo that would give you a little more insight as to what Microsoft Azure is and how it works. So there you go. Now what I've done is I've gone ahead and I've logged into my Microsoft Azure. That means I have this portal where I can do all the stuff which I just talked about. Now basically what happens is you have to go to your browser and type this URL, that is azure.microsoft.com, and you would be redirected to this page. Instead, you can just go to Google and maybe in your browser and type Microsoft Azure, and still you would be redirected to this page. So it is your choice as in how do you want to come here. Now once you're here, you need to go ahead and create your account. Now for people who want to start free, they can actually go ahead and click here and you would be given certain access to certain resources which is for free. And that should be more than enough for you to go ahead and practice. All you have to do is you have to go ahead and give in certain credentials and your free account is created. But I won't be getting into the details of all these things. We have quite a few other videos on YouTube which talk about how to create an account on Microsoft Azure. You are free to go ahead and have an access or look at those videos to understand as to how to go ahead and create your account on Microsoft Azure. I already have an account here. I'm going to go ahead and switch into my portal and continue with the proceedings for now. So we have this option here, portal. Once you click on it, you would be redirected to your working portal or Microsoft Azure page where you can have access to all the services and dashboards that they have to offer. My internet is a little slow today for some reason. I do not know why. It might take a while to load, and there you go. We have everything almost loaded. As you can see, I have a dashboard here which gives me details about all the VMs or instances that are running for now. You can go ahead and create more dashboards. You can go ahead and create more instances. You can make use of all the services that Microsoft Azure has to offer to you. Now you can take a look at all the resources that are there when you click here. You have your other resources which are available as well, like your SQL databases, your SQL data warehouses, Azure database for machine learning, and all those things, virtual machines, etc. What we are going to do is we are going to go ahead and create a virtual machine. For people who do not know what a virtual machine is, we all know that we have systems or machines. Now these machines, they basically give you or help you process certain data. But to do that, you need certain set of softwares that need to run on these hardwares or on your machines. Now, to give an example, we have our laptop. Initially, it is blank, and then you go ahead and put an operating system in it. Now, this operating system on your laptop is nothing but basically a machine or a software that helps you run your hardware. Now, when you talk about virtual machines, these are machines or rather softwares that are used or built for virtual purposes or for temporary purposes. To give you an example, now I might be using one operating system on my laptop, but I actually need more than one operating systems for different purposes. So in that case, I can actually go ahead and create a VM or a virtual machine which lets me replicate a particular kind of OS. Say for example, I'm using Windows right now and I would need to go ahead and use something else, maybe an Ubuntu. In that case, what I can do is I can boot up my system, or instead I can just go ahead and use a VM manager like your VMware. Now, what they do is they just let you go ahead and have two OSs or have a random or a parallel OS to run on your system. That means you are creating a virtual machine or a virtual software to meet your particular needs. Now, what kind of needs might be required to be met? Well, say for example, I need to go ahead and test a particular software. So for that, I need to create a different environment. So I can have a virtual machine for that. Or maybe I'm using advanced software, but I need to go back and use the previous version of the software. Again, I can create a VM and use that software there. So this is what a virtual machine is. Let us move further and try to create our own virtual machine using Microsoft Azure. To do that, I would go here and click on create a resource. And then I have this option here which says Windows Server 2016 virtual machine. You can go to the quick start guide where you will be given all the information. To create a VM, you first need to configure basic settings. That is, you'd have to enter a name. Let's call this thing as VM SAMP12. Now, to log in, I would be needing a password and a username. Let my username be same, VM SAMP12, but it is in small. And for my password, I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing. Say VM SAMP @12, but this is small in size, so I would say 345. Yeah, so it is VM SAMP @12345. There you go. So the username is vmsamp12 and vmsamp @12345. Now this is something that we would be needing, so keep or remember these things. Resource group, create new, and let me call it say samp. There you go. Location, I go ahead and say maybe East US. There you go. And I say okay. First detailing is done. Now when you go ahead, you have to go ahead and pick the number of virtual CPUs and all those things. So I have an option here to pick one of these options. Now these are certain recommended ones. Let me just go ahead and pick maybe this, and I say next. All the details are entered here, and as I move further, I just go ahead and say okay. I give my consent to Microsoft and I say create, and there you go, my virtual machine is getting created here. Now creating a virtual machine might take a longer time. At times it takes a couple of minutes. So meanwhile, let me just pause my screen. Once the VM is created, I would restart the webinar. Okay, so after a very long time, my VM has finally deployed or has been deployed. So what I've done is I've actually had some error while it got deployed, or the previous one, and I could not pin my deployed VM back then. So I had to go ahead and make slight changes in it. The name and everything is same here, but the only thing is I've gone ahead and I've changed the resource group to SAM because the previous resource group was already created and I could not deploy my VM there. So while I was paused, I went back and I created the same VM with same credentials, but I just changed the resource group from SAM to SAM. So this would be a new resource group. Since we won't be getting into the details, so this won't be a concern. For now, we have this so-called deployed VM. Let us go to view it basically. So I click on go to resource, and I would be going ahead and closing this part. So there you go. Now you have all the details here when you talk about the overview, as in what is the name, its status, that is it is running, its location, and all the details that are there, the computer name and so many other things. So I can go ahead and connect to a server. To do that, I have to have an RDP file basically. To do that, I'll have to click on connect here. I do that. Yes. And it says, do you want to download an RDP file? Yes. It is nothing but a remote desktop file. I click on it and I get my VM or the file basically. So I'll click on it and open it. There is one more way to go ahead and connect to your server basically. You can do that through secure shell, but we won't be doing that. That is the SSH approach. Instead, I would be just going ahead and connecting using RDP file, which is for my Windows. Use another account. We have created an account which says vmsamp12 at the rate. That was for the password if I'm not wrong. That is vmsamp at the rate 12345, and you have the login details. I say yes, and there you go. You have your virtual machine, which is just like any other operating system basically, but it is more or less a clean slate where you can go ahead and create your own files, your applications, and all those things. You can run your different programming languages or different environments to suit your needs. As I've mentioned, the internet is a little slow today, so loading up takes a while. This is normally very fast. It happens quickly. And there you go. I can actually go ahead and say new, create my files and all those things, even the folders if I want to. But that is up to me whether I want to go ahead and do all these things. Now, even the server manager will take a while to open up. So I'll wait till then. And there you go. I have my server manager, which is open. It gives me all the information. If I want to configure to this local server or I want to add roles, features, and all the other things, but this is for some other time or for some other session basically. As far as this session goes, it is a basic overview. So I would be walking you through these things. That is the number of local servers I have. I'll have its information here. All other servers that are there, you'll have information for those as well, and the file storage and other services, that is your storage pools and all those things. So this is basically how your VM looks like and your storage services basically. So you can go ahead and create all the stuff that you want to here and think of it as more or less a clean slate where you can go ahead and create your applications as well. So this is how you actually go ahead and create your virtual machine. I would be closing it down because I do not want to use it. And one more thing, your instance or your VM basically stays running, you would be charged for it. So it is better to stop it when you're not using it. If you're doing it for the practice sake, and I'm gonna go ahead and say stop here because I do not need this VM anymore, and it might take a while. But as far as this session goes, this is what the demo part was meant to be, to give you an overview and an introduction to what Microsoft Azure is. As far as this session goes, I would be resting my session here and here. If you do have any questions, do put those questions in the chat box below, and we would like to get back to you as soon as possible with your answers or the answers that correspond to your questions. As far as this session goes, I would be resting it now and now. Thank you.